Hello everyone, welcome to the other new video series that I will be doing probably twice a month or whenever there's something significant enough to warrant a tier list change. But this is the tier list for the more casual side of Duel Links. We're talking about ranked, and the highest this will go up to is the KC Cup, where it's basically ranked, but you get ELO attached to it, where you earn duelist points for playing ranked, essentially. So this series hopes to examine what will be the best strategies if you're going into, a best of one, no side deck kind of ranked system, which the KC Cup, or, the second stage of KC Cup or KC Tier, whatever you want to call it, pretty much is the most optimal version of that. So pretty much everything that should work in getting you, stage 1 and stage 2 completed in KC Cup should be getting you King of Games as well. There's really no excuse for that. And this hopes to try to examine what those are, so you can either, pick one of these decks and get an easy King of Games, or get easy, KC Cup, or if maybe you're going for top 100 and you don't know what deck you want to play, this will be a good place to get that information from you, as well as a place to potentially counter them. If I make one of these and it's before a KC Cup, like we're about to be in a KC Cup right now, in just a few days, stage 1 will begin. This might give you some ideas on how to counter the metagame, or so I hope. There is a deck on here. Blue Eyes White Dragon is not on here, for all of you that are super observant. I will talk about that towards the end of the video, just because it is a little bit of a rant towards Blue Eyes. Nothing too personal, but if you do want to hear out my opinions on the Blue Eyes White Dragon deck, definitely make sure to stick around for that. Otherwise, we're going to be focusing on, the competitive casual, if you will, of ranked and KC Cup. So I got my this video will have much more bias than the Ryise report. Ryise report is heavily backed up by data, so there isn't too much bias going on there. I'm literally just reporting what happened. Where the Ryise report will have quite a bit more bias. It's still going to be backed up with data. The data that I used for this primarily was the previous KC Cups that we had. As we know, the meta's been super stale, so we pretty much know how everything will perform outside of like Gaia. And Gaia is going to be more, we saw that in Worlds, which we can kind of take into consideration, but not super take into consideration. But, it's we can still kind of mess around and see what we can figure out based on the strategies from here. So, for the most part, we should know what the metagame looks like outside of what Gaia is going to do, and that is kind of... this one was pretty much easy to make, because you could literally just go to the top 100 and see what decks did well, and then just think of the Gaia matchup and how would that do, and how would Gaia change the format, right? So if you are interested in looking up this information yourself, I definitely encourage doing that, because I think you'll come to pretty similar conclusions from what I've come to. So starting off in Tier 1, we have Automats, Thunder Dragons, Cyber Dragons, and Gaia. Automats, that's no question. We know even in a best of one format, we know Automats is king. We can see that based on the KC Cup preliminary tournaments, KCGT preliminary tournaments, which is just a big KC Cup. Automats still dominated, even though people played counters to Automats. The only difference is we won't have True Nade this time. So I think there may be a potential that Automats do get, kind of hamstrung, if you will, by more stall strategies this time around. I think stall heavy strategies will be significantly stronger than they were the first time around. So keep that in mind as we go through the list. Next up, we have Thunder Dragon. Thunder Dragon is always a respectable deck in these types of formats. Whenever you give Thunder Dragons an unlimited number of games, it's kind of their brick value kind of goes out the window, and say, even if I brick a game, I'm just going to come back and sack another game and try to get that good median. They also did very good at Worlds and the KC Cup preliminary. I think they'll have a fantastic run at KC Cup, and I think they're a fantastic deck for the latter. And same with Automats. I think if you have Automats or Thunder Dragon, you're hitting King of Games if you want in, like, I don't know, less than 30 wins from Platinum to King of Games. Cyber Dragon is another one of those decks that I think will be really, really good in KC Cup. Cyber Dragon is kind of that deck where you kind of turn your brain off if you want to hit King of Games, but more specifically in KC Cup, they're just a deck that just randomly comes out and sacks you, and there isn't too much you can do about it. I believe Cyber Dragon was in the top 5 of last KC Cup, and then in KCT preliminary, I also think they were in the top 10 if I'm not mistaken. So this deck has always had good KC Cup representation. It's a sack deck. Sack and OTK decks always do well in KC Cup because of the best of one nature of them. And then Gaia, I think Gaia will be a kind of, again, just like how Ancient Gear was so good at, like, you know, stopping all the memes and stuff. I think Gaia is going to have a fantastic KC Cup run. I believe this is going to be the first time he gets a real KC Cup appearance-like run. Besides that, it was just like KCGT and stuff like that. So it'll be exciting to see if they change up the best of one meta in any way. I think they will. I think them being able to shut down traps and hand traps in the battle phase will be very, very powerful in a ladder type scenario. So I have high expectations of Gaia, and I think the strategy will work very, very well. And I think it'll be very, very popular. So we'll see how that goes from there. At tier 2, I have TGs, Harpies, RDA, and Triamids. So TGs are very powerful. Again, another high roll, high sack deck. My only concern with them is maybe they're a little too high roll, too high sack, and even if they make the Halberd Cannon, it doesn't necessarily mean the game is over. They are still able to be beaten beyond that. They were available during the last KCGT preliminary, and they did actually very well. They were in the top 10, I believe, a couple times with a couple different builds, but they did lose True Nade. So this deck, I think, will struggle more about losing True Nade than you know, something like Automats, where TDs, you know, they're another high roll deck, but they have things like Levianeer to try and work through that back row. So I don't think they're going to care as much. So more of a tier 2 deck, I think, but you still got to keep it in mind going into the tournament. Red Dragon Archfiend, I think Red Dragon will have a much better time in KC Cup because there is no side deck to kind of screw them over, and there'll be less, you know, Stygian Dirge and all those like random floodgates, so they don't have to even worry about that, or Necro Valley. So they're going to definitely have a better time here than they will in the tournament scene, and I think it's definitely worth keeping them in mind. You know, especially if we have an OTK fest with Sidra and Gaia, this will be a deck that can be more resilient to getting OTK'd because of the life point gain. So definitely keep your eyes on Red Dragon Archfiend. Trimids may surprise you, but Trimids always historically have a very good KC Cup run. The King Golem, dude, it's just too much for some decks, especially decks that try to, you know, play more stally on day 3 in hopes of you know, trying to get as many hand trap decks as possible. I mean, it's just a really strong strategy. They're really defensive against Gaia pops with their Trimid Fortress. Trimid Sphinx is hard to out for some decks. And yeah, I think Trimids will be just a very good strategy, especially with my, you know, forecast of heavy back row coming into this KC Cup specifically. I think Trimids are a fantastic strategy. We saw it at Worlds. We see it in every KC Cup. I definitely think it belongs in the tier 2 category when we're talking about decks that will show up in KC Cup. Tier 3, these may surprise you, because tier 3 is where is obviously, we're talking about ladder here. This is where the crazy stuff starts popping up. I've got Lunalight, Ritual Beast, Shiranui, and Hero Flash. That's right, boys, Hero Flash. Oh my lord, this deck is so dumb, but you know people are going to play it like crazy. And you know it's going to actually... I'm almost 100% sure we'll see at least one Hero Flash in the top 100. That's how confident I am that people are going to play this deck. Shiranui goes without saying, and Ritual Beast. Heavy back row is going to be very, very powerful in this meta. We saw both Ritual Beast and Shiranui at Worlds. and it was just, or actually we didn't see Shiranui. We saw Ritual Beast at Worlds. We didn't see Shiranui, but Shiranui's always been a represented deck at KC Cup Stage 1 at least. So we'll definitely, I think, see them. They'll just be one of the weaker back row decks that we have. But no Necro Valley, stuff like that to contend with. I think we'll definitely see them. And then Lunalights, I think every automat knows, they have in the back of their mind that Lunalights is a thing, especially after their Worlds performance, and they're going to force people to put Sword Breaker into their decks, so it won't ultimately cuck them, but it's hilarious in and itself that even happens, and I do think that some people try to get greedy and say there's not that many Lunalights right now, I'm going to try and side out the Sword Breaker for something better to get an edge over my automat mirror matches, and they're going to run into a Lunalight and lose, and that's going to give enough Lunalights permission to enter the top 100 of KC Cup. So that is pretty much my prediction for the KC Cup, and any of these decks will perform well in getting you King of Games, pretty much in this order. If I had to choose a deck for King of Games, if you choose in this order, this is probably how your success will look. King of Games is not competitive whatsoever. It's the least competitive thing when we're looking at decks like this, so we don't, it's not like a huge thing. It's definitely more of a KC Cup style, which is the most competitive version of ranked that we have. It just only lasts 3 days, unfortunately. This is pretty much the end of the video, but if you'd like to hear my rant on Blue Eyes, please stick around, like, comment, subscribe if you decide to leave. But definitely thank you for checking out the new Ryise report, which is going to hopefully be my bi-weekly update on the ladder, and just what I experienced playing my free-to-play accounts, and what I see in our discords and stuff like that, of what people are running into, etc., etc. Now, oh boy, Blue Eyes White Dragon. Blue Eyes White Dragon will probably always be super popular, so this is going to be the only time I really address this, just because I know people are going to bring it up in the comments section. Blue Eyes White Dragon, when we're talking about competitive, is an irrelevant deck. Blue Eyes White Dragon, when we're talking about the most competitive a casual mindset can get before it goes into the competitive side of things, is irrelevant. Simply put, if you go to the popularity listings and you look at where Blue Eyes is, it's the most popular deck. However, keep in mind that popularity setting is from Platinum all the way to King of Games. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's performing well. It just means at the very base minimum in Platinum, there could be a bunch of Blue Eyes White Dragons that may not be, getting into Legend, or they get to Platinum and they switch decks, or whatever the situation may be. And I'm more inclined to believe that that's a thing. I base this information off of the KC 2021 preliminary tournaments. Not a single Blue Eyes was in the top 128 decks that were submitted, and people were playing multiple decks. This individual has 4 decks that he played. Global number 27 had 4 different decks. They're all Resonators, but they're all different versions of Resonators. Some people had different decks altogether, like Trimids, Resonators, Sinjus even. Blue Eyes is nowhere to be seen on this list of top decks. And this isn't like a one-off thing. Pretty much in multiple KC Cups, if you go back, you do not see Blue Eyes White Dragon. You have to go back. To Dark Lord and Blue Eyes era to that was like the only time they were relevant, and then they got nerfed. Ever since the nerf, they have not done well in KC, in tournaments, even ranked. If you go into the DLE Discord and look at submitted COG decks, or even if you go to Duel Links Meta and sort by their ranked decks there. You can very clearly see, this video is made on the 7th, so 1 week since the season has shifted, and Blue Eyes is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th most submitted deck at 8 submissions, while Automat sits at 58 submissions for King of Games. They lose on every single statistic in terms of them being a good deck. The only statistic they win at is popularity, which actually worsens their case, because that means they're being played a lot, but they're not succeeding a lot, which is basically means they're free dinner out there in the wild. Now, I don't want this to be, I know some people take this personally whenever I, talk about blue, whenever it's Blue Eyes or Photon. If I talk about one of those two decks, people get really angry. I want to clarify, I actually really like Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's my favorite anime deck. I loved Kaiba growing up. I love the Blue Eyes White Dragon. I prefer it over Dark Magician. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that buying Blue Eyes White Dragon is good for King of Games. It's good for KC Cup. It's good for anything right now. It's simply not. There are better free-to-play decks, for example, Harpies or Resonators to buy if you're fully free-to-play. If you have the ability to spend up to $20 on this game, you can buy Gaia and immediately have one of the best decks for the ladder format. There is zero reason to buy Blue Eyes White Dragon, and I'm sorry that's so harsh, but I'm telling you the simple truth. I hope you can forgive me. Don't hate me too much. That's just how it is, boys. That is the Ryise report. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. Go watch the Ryise report if you want a more competitive take on the meta with best of 3 matches. But if you're more of just a ladder player, KC Cup player, then this is the only video that you have to watch if you're looking at meta analysis from there. Let me know in the comments how I did, what you'd like to see, other things that you'd like me to maybe take a look at when I'm doing the Ryise report. This video, like I said, will probably be more twice a month, maybe whenever something spicy comes out, like a new box. Otherwise, the Ryise report will be your weekly dosage of the meta analysis side of things. That's going to be it from me. You guys take it easy. Till next time.